I look, if I want to find out about a job that helps people like we're talking about, what is that job?
Well, right now in the state of California, there's different levels. You can be an EDD rep because a lot of the EDD, they go out, if they do have their papers, and they go and file with EDD. Many of those counselors or reps are being told the horrible stories, right? And so there could be an EDD rep, but the one position that always deals with this stuff is the labor commissioner. And that's the labor commissioner of the state of California. There's different levels. There's an entry level, there's a supervisor, there's the executive, there's attorneys that take on these cases. And so it's called the deputy labor commissioner. And they are hiring all the time. They have lists going around all the time. I used to work as a labor commissioner and a supervisor in San Jose. But yeah, those are the jobs.
What is EDD?
Employment Development Department. Anyway, I think that the important thing about these kinds of issues is that who is there in the background to help you out? What are those positions on a statewide or a federal level? The federal government has openings all the time at the Department of Labor, and that help farm workers as well if they're being discriminated against. The FEPC, Fair Employment and Housing. HUD also has positions open that help you, where they can help you. California Rural Legal Assistance, even though it's not in Gilroy, it's in different farm worker communities. They have investigators, they have lawyers. You can look up their website. They have a great website. California Rural Legal Aid Society has people. Legal aid societies are usually county-wide. We have one in San Jose. Unfortunately, they're not down here. And people would have to go to San Jose. But the Legal Aid Society has people that can also help. There's Santa Clara University has law students on the corner of Santa Clara near the Alameda, where they have law students there that help cases like hers or any case of a grievous nature that is labor related. The Labor Commissioner's Office, State of California, they do work there, and you can go on the website there. So there's many avenues, but I'll tell you, I was a labor commissioner. I had 150 cases, and I used to come home crying every night because I could not help most of those cases. You can only do like 4 a week.
I just want to get back to the history of Gilroy and how Gilroy feels, and how Gilroy felt or feels about the people that work there on the fields, the farm workers. As an example, I'll show you, like in the late 50s, early 60s, they built a labor camp, supposedly for the migrants that would come and work in the fields of Gilroy. So they built it on Luchesa Avenue, right next to the sewer plant of Gilroy that smelled like hell, and right next to the Gilroy dump. That's where they put our people to live, and these were the people that were picking up our crops. Y lo que dije es que en el último de los 50s, para empezar los 60s, la ciudad de Gilroy quería tanto al campesino que hizo un campo de labor y lo hizo allá por la calle Luchosa, a un ladito de donde dompea toda la ciudad de Gilroy, la sociedad.
Yo viví allí como 3 años.
Yeah, y verdad que volvió bien feo. She got to live there. She said it really stunk. But that's what the farmers and the people of Gilroy really thought about the farm worker, and that's where they did the housing.
Alicia Márquez González, me gustaría más que de animar que tomen más educación, porque hay este clave para hacer más esfuerzos y más avances.
Lonnie Oshimura. The thing that I would love to see is more information about the cultural life of the people who lived here, because there are things like quinceañeras and all these other things that go on. And the other interesting thing about Gilroy is that because you're Hispanic doesn't mean that you're necessarily Catholic. There are huge numbers of other denominations that, in fact, I was working with lots and lots of Hispanics when I came to work here, and none of them were Catholic. I mean, everybody was some other denomination, and I thought that was really interesting. And one more thing, you also have equestrian people. There are many other type of the rodeo folks. So there are other cultural aspects to the community that I think need to be explored.
Yeah, my name is Lupe Robles, and I think people should be more educated on the rights or their rights and know what's going on, because sometimes we don't hear this unless somebody tells us. There's something out there for you. You can do this, you can do that.
My name is Sandra Nava. I would have liked to have heard about people's experience with segregation in Gilroy and what that was like. Yes, I
Well, I wanted to mention, like you were, when Shirley mentioned Alejo went to school in Gilroy. He has family in Gilroy, and he went to Gavilan College. But I think that we should talk about the Chicano movement, more how people have the so-called made it in our society now because of the Chicano movement, and that includes the lawsuits that CRLA brought. We're the ones that, because I worked at CRLA for 10 years, and we're the ones that brought the lawsuit to change and make sure that the ballots were in all the different languages, the voting ballot. You know, and these were all things that came out of Gilroy. You know, we work really close with, I shouldn't even say that, a certain labor leader, and so whatever needed to be done, we did it at CRLA. You know, that included getting food stamps for farm workers, Medica. I mean, there's a lot. The Chicano movement did a lot, and that's what we should hear about.
I'm Barbara Del Villar, and I'm with CARAS, and originally I'm from Indio, California. My mom used to migrate workers. They used to come over here and work, and my mom used to live in Hollister, and my dad used to live in Indio, and they used to come back and forth to work. And I didn't get educated. I got married when I was 14. My mom thought that being a mother was more important than working, and so that's what she raised me. She raised me to be a mother, a good mother. And I wish she would have told me more about getting educated and going to school and everything. I got pregnant when I was 14, and that's what I did, what my parents told me to do. And my dad and my mom got married here, and my dad and my mom met right here in Hollister. My mom came from, they worked out in the field all the time. My dad came from India, and my mom came from living here in Hollister, so they got married here in Gilroy. They met right here in Gilroy, and they got married here in Gilroy. In 1942, they got married here in Gilroy.
Señora Peña, what do you think we should talk more about if we regarding collecting Gilroy history?
I think, you know, I'm the younger generation, it looks like, but I think we are very disconnected, our youth are very disconnected about what actually happened with the history here. I don't know if at some point, maybe speaking to the school district, seeing if all this hard work that everybody's putting into and all these great stories that are happening that are from Gilroy, that we can somehow implement them in a school. Somehow we can have our students see that it actually happened here, that it actually continues to happen with the stories that we hear. Being part of CARAS, we hear it all the time, where things still continue to happen, and discrimination is very live, racism is still there, and you know, that we can motivate our students and our youth to continue their education, to want to see. Part of it is, and I remember when I was in school here in Gilroy, schools that I was born and raised here in Gilroy, so my connection is that when I went to the museum as a field trip, there's no connection. I made no connection with anything there. And that is so unfortunate. I think that this is a great thing to do because it will bring some connection to our students. But then aside from that, I think that there has to be more. There has to be more where they connect, where they see. Maybe some of these folks that have succeeded from Gilroy, that have done something different and have moved on, even if they no longer live here, that we track that and we can show that, present that to our students so that they can relate and they can see themselves in that person's shoes. Because if you can't see the future, or you can't feel it, you can't see what happened, then you might just not have interest in it.
Okay, my name is Mike Miguel Correa. Been in Gilroy at least 40 years. We picked prunes. My dad dropped us. No me muevo. Picked prunes in the 50s. We were here at Garlic World. We lived there. But originally from Soledad, familias from Zacatecas. They came during the Revolution in Mexico. And they did the crops all the way down to Sacramento. But what we need more is roots. Roots from the 30s, from the 40s, familias. Our familias, which is Gilroy, but guess what? Gilroy was many familias that stopped here to pick the prunes, to did all these other vegetables in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s. So I've got photographs of all that stuff, a familia. But originally I was born in Salinas, California, lived there about 3 days because they kicked my mom out and I just went back to Soledad. But we did the fields, you know. But mostly it's history, to its history. And this is what the kids can identify with. You know, a lot of the stuff I've got over there, you know what? I can tell them the stories, testimonials, abuelitos, abuelitas. That's from the Revolution. Okay, about the braceros here, guess what? I know all three of those. I had two tios that got killed in the 1948 airplane crash in Los Gatos. Two of my tios, Maciases.
We need to talk about the educational system here in Gilroy. One of the things that I was involved in was ESO and CAUSA, which we did a tutoring program, right? And we partnered with the Hispanic University to do a study of what happens with our kids and how do they get lost in the system. And they did a study and found that we are okay in first and second grade in kindergarten. We are at the same level as white kids in this town, right? At third grade, we start going down and they continue to elevate and we never meet again sometimes. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And what happened was the Hispanic University said, this is what you guys need to start doing things to impact Chicano kids in this town. So we started this huge tutoring program. We were in every school, the library, we were here. We had 3 or 4 different classes going on here. 10 years later, and some of the things that the parents said, the white parents said, was that it's the fault of the Mexican parent. The teachers even blamed the Mexican parents for the kids not moving forward. 10 years later, we did the same study. The Hispanic University came back, did the same study. What had changed? What had changed? Nothing had changed 10 years later. The scores were still low. The parents of white kids and the parents and the school teachers were saying the same thing. It's the Chicano parents' fault. So we need to work on education, teaching the young Chicanos about what has happened here in the educational system that's still affecting them.